Hello, welcome back to my little corner of the world. This is Casey's Corner. I'm Casey, and this is another one of my What Makes a Hedgewitch videos. I am back, finally. I had to take a break, and I had a lot going on through the, it's the October season is high crafting season for me. I also had a lot of community service stuff going on, and just rebalancing out the mental health after a really rough summer. And I'm probably going to do another video talking about that. I have, discussed my mental health in some of my other videos. You can check those out in like my bipolar to me videos. But this one's going to be about, if you could not tell by the title, this was What Makes a Hedgewitch. We're talking about communities. This is something that's so important to me. I way overthought it for months. This part of why this also took so long. Just because it's communities, man. There are entire civilizations that have lasted for thousands of years because their communities found a way to come together, to share their wisdom, to build huge monuments, and to share their knowledge about the ways to manage health and their civics and managing clean water systems and things like this happened way back. Ancient Egyptians and all the other civilizations that were around in those before times. And so, and then we see, I grew up seeing the power of being a part of a community. I had a very prominent and active family in the local Baptist community. And I would, be split my time between my Catholic grandmother and uncle, and then my Baptist family and stuff, and they'd kind of like have joint custody of us, trying to like save our souls with the different churches. And while I felt the pain of being an outcast of those communities because I asked too many questions that didn't conform, I also saw the power of those communities, of belonging, of wanting to belong, of the power they had to control people and hurt people, to make you want to belong, because you could see the strength there is in numbers, in belonging to a community. I loved seeing, my uncle, he was, a minister, pastor type person in the community. So seeing him just take a leadership role and do things for his community, and lead his family in that, I really looked up to that, and I did love being a part of that and doing the community service there with their church and stuff. I also, later when I got into high school, it's so important to, high school is one of those places where, you either belong somewhere or you don't, and it's really painful. And for me, I found my community, it was suggested to me by the school counselor to try to join student council. And there was a built-in community there, and she was right. It was a really special feeling to be a part of that and to be able to serve my community in that way, and not have to say, well, we're doing this because we want to save you and we want you to listen to what we have to say about our religion, but to do it just because I enjoyed serving the community in that capacity. Doing the energy and environment committee, public service stuff that we did. And later in life, I learned, as my mental health diagnosis became an issue, that's a big part of a lot of people's recoveries. We're told to join a community, be a part of something. And the go-to thing is always kind of a church. It's kind of everyone's default is just join a church, a synagogue, a mosque. People don't really think beyond that. In the books I've read about, that have helped me with my bipolar 2 diagnosis, it's just automatically assumed I can go join some church community. But for me as a Hedgewitch, I'm just an outcast of all kinds of communities. Like, that's just my nature. I tried joining witchy communities as well in the past, and I found the same kind of power dynamics of where if I didn't conform and asked too many questions and didn't, I was kicked out and ostracized. And that is the power of community. That was, back before executions became a big punishment. The biggest punishment really was to be and made an outcast. That was, to be turned away from your family and the people you grew up with and your loved ones. Like, that was worse than death. Because you didn't have anybody to remember you after death, or you didn't have anybody to care for you. Oh my God, see, because I know the pain of that. And today we still have a lot of people doing that to their loved ones. If you're, a member of the LGBTQ community, if you're a member of, if you've left the religion you've grown up with, a lot of times that means leaving everything you've known, leaving, everything that's made you safe in your community. So for me as a Hedgewitch, I feel it is, very important, for me to help rebuild a community, to help, people who also live on the edges of society, but still need that community. They need somebody to look to. They need, people to talk to share their knowledge with, to learn from. That's a big part of why I love being a part of the DFW Pagan Unity Fest. That we just finally held that the beginning of November, and we'll be back again next year. But that was when I started, attending that event and volunteering. To find a group of pagans and witches, heathens, and all kinds of different people that existed on that pagan spectrum outside of the big Bible Belt influence I grew up with. That was a huge eye-opener for me. It meant so much to me. And it was shortly after that I got the it's cold today, so I'm covering it, but I have the triple goddess pentacle tattoo right here, as it became a protection symbol, but also a symbol to others, in the community, to say, hey, I'm here, I exist, I'm a safe person to talk to. Because I noticed when I would go out, after that first Unity Fest, and I started wearing more, witchy jewelry, pentacles and things. I would, young folks in the community would come up to me, like at the mall, and they'd be like, are you a witch? And, and I know a lot of people, I've seen a lot of like nastiness on the internet, patronizing when that happens, feeling like, oh, they're so not, but for me, it was something, I realized it was a privilege and something very special to be that safe person for these people to come to, because I remember how isolating and alone it was for me when I was in their shoes, before I realized there were other people like me in my area. So that I usually, when I'm out in public, I try to have some sort of symbol, saying, this is what I am. I'm a witch. I am a safe person for you to talk to, and ask questions to. I usually try to be open for that. And I consider that part of my work, my spiritual work. And that's why with all my social anxieties, I know it's weird that I do that, but that also became a big part of my healing process, because, I decided for a long part, good part of early half of my life, as I talked about in my, One Nation Under God, Who's God, video, where, I was literally surrounded by a mob of Christians, threatening me to, convert to their ways, so they could save me. And it was a very scary situation. And so I don't want other people to have to go through that alone and think that there's that they have to, submit to threats, or else they're not going to find a community out there. There are people that will love you and accept you, and I've found amazing communities now, even within the witchy community. I know a lot of people think there's, they have a lot of toxic experiences, and I think that's just this part of the society we have built as a whole across religions. And I've spent a lot of time in a lot of different Christian churches and a lot of different faiths, in community with them. And there are great people and there are toxic people everywhere you go. But that's the world we have built for ourselves over the past, couple thousand years. And especially a couple hundred years. But there are also those that are working to heal that. And that's my work as a hedge witch, is doing community healing and not giving up when I have felt ostracized, and like I had to give up my values in order to be a part of a community. There are other people out there. There are a ton of people out there. And I definitely recommend, as far as safe communities for witches of all kinds, to check out. I definitely recommend listening to the Witch Bitch Amateur Hour podcast and checking out their online communities, especially part of Facebook. I found family there. Like, it's just, I'm gonna cry again. It's meant so much to me to be a part of that community. So I definitely invite you, if you have felt ostracized, like not welcome elsewhere, ran into a lot of gatekeeping, and want a safe place to learn and be in fellowship and find support and stuff, check out the WABA community, Witch Bitch Amateur Hour. No bitch on Facebook, so just the Witch Amateur Hour, and find their online coven, their Facebook group, and they have a ton of other subgroups, but that's a great community. I'm a big part of. Also, like I said, the DFW Pagan Unity Fest, if you are in that area. I know, being a part of that, I got to have a lot of conversations with other solitary witches like myself that found it to be something special to get to go there and learn from other different local groups that were open to, they'll lead different circles there and stuff, and to hold different classes, and it's just a special thing to come to learn from a community, not feel like we need to be converted to join anywhere, and just be ourselves, and then get to go back to our isolated lives to our own little corners of the world. And I met witches coming in from all parts of Texas in the early years of the Pagan Unity Fest, and I hope as we get back to our post-pandemic groove, get more back into our to again welcome back more members of the community. So yeah, definitely check out the Pagan Unity Fest community, the Witch Bitch Amateur Hour community, and the Your Average Witch podcast. That one also, she does interviews of different members of the witch community, and just like the title says, Your Average Witch and stuff. And that's another podcast that really, it was something I've been looking for a long time, because she's seeking out members of the witch community that you haven't really heard from before, that have been left out by the predominantly cis white Eurocentric powers that be, that have led the witch community for the past couple of decades. I have sought out podcasts that help me keep that community vibe that I got at the DFW Pagan Unity Fest, and that's how I found Witch Bitch Amateur Hour, and was trying podcasts that made me feel that vibe of learning from a welcoming community like that. And that wasn't trying to preach that this is the only way. They're also learning, and it was great, and they're from my area, and that was also great. And with the Your Average Witch, it's the same thing. And she's also part of the Waba community. So that kind of gives you the vibe of, you know, she's, you know, yeah, a welcoming person that's trying to give a voice to all kinds of members of the community. So definitely check that out too. I'll post their links down below. And so, you know, in closing, I just want to say, yes, being a hedge witch doesn't necessarily mean you have to be completely isolated and that you're never going to be a part of a community. Being a solitary witch, same thing. Doesn't mean you have to necessarily be isolated and not be a part of any community. There are plenty of communities that you can find that will welcome you as you are and say, hey, I'm glad you've joined us. Have a great time. We'll see you next time. Just, you know, don't give up. And like I said, check out those places. Yeah, I will see you guys next time. It's good to be back. I will try not to take so long before my next Hedgewitch video. And and I'll also have a video about the DFW Pagan Unity Fest this year, my experience with that, and the pictures and stuff that I have from that. So keep an eye out for that. Y'all have a great day. Happy November. I'm grateful for you guys. Bye. Oh yeah, like, share, subscribe, do the things. You know the drill.